My life, from 2013 up till 2018, 19 was YouTube, YouTube, YouTube. It was a lifestyle. It was what I was doing with every minute of my spare time. The focus on enjoying it, that will give you the longevity to get to a point where you do see results. If you're in it just to see results, oftentimes you'll burn out before you even get any results because it takes a long time and it's never even guaranteed. I think that mindset has helped a lot of us through collaboration and through just making it sometimes less about the content and more about the experience and making sure we're having fun, and that always transpires through on camera eventually. I seem to remember in the very early YouTube when you could message channels and people actually check their channel inbox every day. I would message loads and loads of different channels around a similar size, say, hey, do you want to play some COD together, record a dual commentary, what do you want to do? I'm happy to give my content to someone else, even if it means that an extra 1,000 people subscribe to me in the next month. Lots of small boosts in audience leads to a big boost over time. I guess you almost in a way have to be kind of relentless and just be sociable and look for opportunities to extend yourself to a bigger audience.
Welcome to the Becoming a Streamer podcast by Pipeline, where we dive deep into how streamers became who they are today to learn from the journey and how they got there. I'm your host, StoneMountain64, co-founder of Pipeline, and today we have the pleasure of sitting down with the legend Vikkstar123. YouTube phenomenon with tens of millions of subscribers, even has 3 of his own personal channels surpassing 1 million subscribers. He's also one of the founding members of the Sidemen, a content group out in the UK. These guys, to put in perspective, have over 3 million unique views per month just from the UK, which is over 5% of their population. Meaning you're walking down the street, 1 in 20 people have seen your video just that month. It's incredible scale. This man is a legend. And if you enjoy this interview as much as we do, please share it with a friend. Without further ado, let's jump into it. All right, dude. Vic, thank you so much for joining in, coming on to share your story today for other streamers. If you guys haven't seen Vic before, he is actually one of my inspirations for creating content. Back in Black Ops 1, he was the Tomahawk master, showing the rest of us noobs actually how to get it done. Got my first shout out as well from Vic. I always got to give a huge shout out to that. I'm incredibly grateful always. He had a COD Carnage community channel that helped me get to my first 1,000 subs with my shoutcasting series. So, dude, I just every time I love telling that to people, and it's just awesome because you've always been a fantastic role model for me personally, and just like how you create content, the approach you've done. I always try and watch and learn from you. So, like I said, I'm super excited to have you on and just be able to chat with you.
No, I appreciate that. That's very much high praise, as we've all come a long way since those days. It's actually awesome to see how many of us are still in the community that started in those days. The Call of Duty commentators. Even when I think about that now, like what we did then and how different it was to where everyone is now, it's kind of mind-blowing. The fact that we could load up some multiplayer COD gameplay, just talk over it, shoutcast over it, and post it up, and YouTube was so new then that people that was all there was you could watch in gaming, and everyone loved it. And I think so many of those people that set the kind of groundwork then are still around now, and they're my favorite people in the community because they've been here the whole time. We've kind of seen it evolve and change, and we've adapted with that. You get people who come in and then come out, but anyone who's been around for that long, certified in the community. And
that's the thing too, is like, often I like to see like what did people do before they got into content creation? You started when you were young, right? Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I was, like 14, 15 at school. So all I've ever really known is making YouTube videos. I spent almost half of my life just making videos day in, day out. So for me, it was quite an easy transition. I didn't really have to give anything up to go into content creation. I kind of managed it alongside my studies. And fortunately, it was about 3 years later I finished my studies, and I'd built it up to a point where it's like, hey, I'm not even kind of taking the plunge into this. I'm able to now actively do this. And it was a test for me. Even at that time, I think YouTube's actually in a way kind of a more comfortable and safe space for creators, at least nowadays, in the fact that we know it's not going anywhere. It's here to stay. But I remember vividly back in 2015, I was moving into a house with other YouTubers who ended up being the Sidemen, a few other content creators, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to try this for a year. let's see if YouTube's still around in a year. Because I'd say in the early days, we all thought it was a bubble that was going to burst. But like, this is, because it just seemed kind of bizarre to us.
How long could this last?
Exactly. It was like, wait, we're earning money doing this, and we're not TV, and we're not a movie, and we're not Hollywood. We're just doing our own thing. And yeah, I think that was very much an early thought, is like, when's this bubble going to burst? And then I took kind of a year out before I was going to go to university. And in that year, everything multiplied so many more times through collaboration, through making videos in person and online with the guys that then became the Sidemen kind of shortly thereafter. And it was, only after really throwing myself into the deep end and saying, right, I've done this while studying, but where can I get to if I go full time for a year? And then that really paved the way for the rest of the future. And it was at that perfect kind of golden time where YouTube was getting bigger, but it wasn't super saturated in terms of creators. And we kind of innovated a few times, and then the rest is history.
I mean, that was really your focus over to spending more time on it? I mean, you have like over 10,000 videos or something uploaded, right? Like,
yes.
Was that like it's just crazy to even say that, man. But like, was that something that was a big lever for you when you did go full time? It was like, okay, I'm going to dedicate like every hour to this. Was that where you saw like your first explosive really growth off of that? Was there even stuff before that stands out?
Yeah, that was definitely kind of the turning point. And again, it was like, look, you can either go to university, study really hard, and go and get a well-paid job, or if you're going to do this YouTube thing, don't play around with it. Get in there, do it. In my life, for probably, I'd say, from 2013 up till 2018, 19, was YouTube. It was the lifestyle. It was what I was doing with every minute of my spare time. Actually, kind of more recently, after I had to kind of break away from that a little bit, because it's not the healthiest thing to do, I'll be honest. And I've seen you, actually, we can talk about it in a little bit, but in the same way I see you working hard in the gym, I've been doing the same thing, and I think that's really important, actually, to kind of round yourself and actually kind of refocus yourself. But yeah, for a good kind of 5-6 years, it was every spare minute was invested into either creating content, chatting with other creators about ideas, concepts, trends on the platform, new kind of content verticals to go into, what's working, what's not working. It was everything. And that's, I think, almost, that's what it took then when it wasn't as competitive. And that's still what it takes to this day, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, I even remember back then too. Like, I mean, even talking about that community channel that you had, there was a lot of people that were uploading to it. Like, there was still, people that wanted to get in the space, and there was interest on it. Obviously, viewership wasn't as high as what it is even today, and the potential for it too. But yeah, and talking about that too is like, to keep that dedicated that long to it. I guess a common question that I really hear is like, how do you keep motivated? How do you keep yourself like not from burning out on everything that you're doing? Is there anything like, obviously for me, that has been the gym in some ways, especially recently starting another company and, managing everything that I am now, like that helps me to keep focused. Like, was there anything along that whole journey that helped you keep doing it? Is it kind of the shift now that you're really trying to balance that out more?
Yeah, I think it was just crazy times then. And I guess it was just, a mindset of I have to be invested into this, and it's it's very addictive. I'll be honest. YouTube, is always, you see it real time every day. There's a new video. How many views have they got? What are people saying? And like, it can be really rewarding to kind of keep cycling that. A little bit dangerous again, because it is something that can become kind of addictive. And I think it's very easy on the up. But the key thing is sometimes you'll be on the flat and sometimes you'll be on the decline. And it's just understanding that that's kind of natural. And I think, again, it's something that you and I both know when you've been doing this for a long time. It is naturally going to happen year over year. And every time you can overcome that, switching from one game to the next, from one style of content to the next, it's going to be kind of scary and feels like taking this leap of faith. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And then I think it's quite empowering. You feel like it gives you the motivation, like, hey, I did it, I'll do it again. I guess slight tangent on the question, in terms of, I guess it's just, I've always had that mindset of kind of get something done and kind of work hard. And yeah, for me, it was just, look, I've sacrificed what could have been my life otherwise. So if I'm doing this, it was always the mindset, let's make the most of it, let's get the most out of it that we can. And it was just, yeah, that kept me kind of cycling.
Yeah, I think, there's a certain level of dedication, and that's something that I've always seen from you, whether it's even like, starting another channel and maintaining that one, and just like, and I think too, even your aspect of bringing other people in and playing with other people was something I was kind of delayed to even starting to get into. But, I think a lot of people, even including myself early on, I see these guys that had, a group, whether it was like the crew or, like you guys, and it's like, oh, how do I get into that group or whatever it is. But I guess like what was really impressive is like you guys all coming together and just forming your own thing with it. And I guess, could you speak a little bit about that and like how you guys even came together to create that and to like do your own thing and form that?
Yeah, so I mean, some might say it was fate, it was destiny. There was no inception point. There was never, and I think that's probably the most powerful part about the whole process. There was never a conscious decision. Okay, let's make this group. Let's collaborate together. Let's set up, a clothing company. Let's set up a group channel. Everything happened very, very naturally. We were all good friends. We'd met up at very early gaming conventions in the UK in like 2012, 2013. Those are like your Eurogamers, Gamescom in Germany, things like that. We got to know each other, and we just got on. We just, outside of making content, we all got to know each other and started getting on. And then a big turning point for us was when GTA 5 released. And that was this huge multiplayer kind of, I guess, sandbox, free roam, open world kind of game where we all jumped on and just started making videos. And it was fun. We were all friends having fun. And, one of the boys made the crew name The Ultimate Sidemen as nothing serious. It's a joke. It's a laugh. We're not trying to be the main thing. It wasn't even much thought into it. It was just like, that's funny. That's our crew name. Let's go.
Yeah.
And then our fans started enjoying our videos so much, they started identifying us as the Sidemen. It's like, oh, I watch Sidemen GTA. And we're like, okay, so we've created a bit of a collective. This is cool. The next step was that we started doing, some T-shirts, and we took them to like early gaming events in the UK, like Insomnia, and started selling them. And these T-shirts were literally just simple text saying Sidemen XIX on a T-shirt. We ordered them into our house. We used to package them. We all used to sit downstairs and pack our own merchandise, stick the labels on, and send it out to the fans. So, the first probably 5,000 people to ever buy a piece of the Sidemen merchandise, we sat downstairs in our living room and packed it ourselves. Yeah. So it has this really personal touch. We were all kind of, back then we had to be really conservative as well. It's like we can't just hire people to run clothing for us. We're not even earning enough to do that kind of thing. But then that kind of solidified it a bit more. Then a few of us moved in. Actually, prior to this, a few of us had moved into a house together. But it was never kind of officially created. It was something that naturally came together. And I think the two most powerful parts is, one, we were all friends outside of the content. So that was kind of an important thing. We all enjoyed spending time together on and off camera, and still do to this day. I think the second key part was when we eventually kind of started going into the business direction, we agreed to share everything equally. No matter how many more or less subscribers or views one person had than the next, we went into it, and with our merchandising, with our channel, with everything split evenly. And I think that's really important. I've seen a lot of other kind of YouTube groups assimilate, and there's always going to be fluctuation in how popular one person is or the next person is. There's egos flying around, but from the get-go, we just said everything's equal, and I think that's been really important moving forward, and everyone's stuck to that and held to that, and I think that's what allows us to get our work done. It's like we're all equal in this. We all put in the same. We have a lot of different systems put in place to make sure everything gets delivered in the way it should be. We try to make sure everyone has a roughly equal responsibility. And I think that's the key to creating a powerful YouTube group.
And I mean, I think that power just it resonates. And I think people see that too. And I feel like that's just how organic that is, and you guys coming together off it. I feel like that's a big thing in content creation in general too, of what I see is a lot of people get into for the passion, for the interest of what they're doing. I'm sure even when you started your YouTube channel in the first place, was there a specific content strategy of what you were going after with it? Was it just I want to upload some videos and and share some content?
That's it. It was just, I want to post some gaming clips, see
Yeah.
what happens. People are watching those, that's cool. How I see these other people doing these commentaries, so I'm going to talk over my gameplay. And you've got squeaky voice, 15-year-old Vic talking about whatever. I'm rambling about anything. And then it was just always natural progressions. You're seeing what other people were doing, saying, hey, I'll give that a go. What's the worst that can happen kind of mindset.
So was that kind of how your content strategy formed from that? Was just like, I'm going to kind of adapt to innovate what other people are doing, see where I can try it, see where I can take my own take on it. Like, what was that? Because obviously, I mean, you started other channels as you've gone through, you've played different games, you've done a lot of switches. I guess, like, how has that content strategy for you shifted as it did become more like, okay, this is going to be a business? Obviously, like everything you've been talking about, there's so much that is mentally going on behind the scenes outside of just
Yes.
like, I'm going to throw up a video, right? So I guess, like, talk to me a bit
I
about
mean, in
that.
the early days, it was very much like the first
Sure.
2 years or so. It was very much. If someone said, "What was your content plan?" I'd say, like this is so
You're
early in
kind
the
of just
space.
finding your voice, even, right?
Yeah,
And you're
that's
so
it.
young, it's like,
Yeah. So I think in the early days, it was just kind of trying different things, posting them up, and it's so easy to get feedback and response. You've got the
yeah,
comment section, and it was trying things. And I remember I was a very hardcore Call of Duty channel, and Minecraft started rising in popularity. And I was like, okay, this is cool. I could get behind this. This is like the early days. You've got Cian is doing his Let's Play. That's kind of like, in my head, that's like the inception of Minecraft becoming the behemoth that it still is today.
yeah.
But I remember I was posting Call of Duty videos every day. And I posted up a video, a little clip of me playing Minecraft and said, hey, do you guys want to see Minecraft videos? Yes or no? Leave a like if you want to see it. Don't do anything if you don't care, and leave a dislike if you'll unsubscribe over this content. And it got more dislikes than likes, and I was like, I can't
Really?
do this. This isn't what my audience want on here. I've built up this Call of Duty following, and I think mindsets of audiences were very rigid and kind of locked in back in 2013, 14. So I kind of left it for a little bit, and then maybe like it was probably a year later, I made a dedicated Minecraft channel, and that it took its time. I remember, it was like getting like 3, 4, 5, 6,000 views a video for a long time at the start, and then it started. I remember I was getting, okay, I'm getting 10,000 a video now. I'm getting 15,000 a video, and I was joining different groups of content creators. That collaboration built it up to a point where it was like I could post 3 Minecraft videos a day, and all of them would get around 200,000 views, which is crazy. Again, it's a
Whoa.
time where just there was so much demand for Minecraft content. We could
Yeah.
just keep it rolling. And again, it was with a similar group of friends. They're called the Pack. We don't really make videos together anymore, unfortunately, but I was almost paralleling. On one side, I was with the Sidemen playing GTA and Call of Duty and Rocket League and such. Then on the other side, I'm playing Minecraft, and that was when it was a real 5, 6 videos every single day, but people loved them. There was appetite for it, and YouTube was in a very different space back then to where it is now, so we could do that. And yeah, it was just trying things basically.
And did you manage like all of that, the channels and everything on your own? Like, did you have any editors or anything that you brought on to help you manage it, or anybody to help you upload it, or anything along the process for it?
All me. Up until
All
about two
you.
years ago, all me. There was very minimal editing. It was just cut, cut, cut. And I knew the content so well. To turn it around at that rate, I couldn't rely
Right.
upon an editor. And also, back then, no one really cared so much about content being edited in the way it is today. People would sit and watch an hour of Minecraft as a Let's Play entirely
Yeah.
uncut. And actually, I would sometimes go in and cut sections out, and I would get people saying, no, why did you cut that? I really enjoy kind of getting into it, experiencing it at the same pace as you. I'm like, well, that's my life easier. I'm not even going to cut these Minecraft videos. I'm just going to deliver them as they are, and people really enjoyed them. That was very early on as well when YouTube made the switch to valuing views to valuing watch time. There was a very distinctive point around, I'd say like 2013, 14, where YouTube realized, hey, it doesn't matter how many times people are clicking individual videos. It matters how long they're on the website, on the platform, and how many adverts they're hitting. And Minecraft was so great for that because people would sit and they'd get into it, the storyline. They wouldn't want to skip forward. And I think that was a key turning point. And maybe things have shifted slightly away from that in recent years, but that was kind of the first time that YouTube had switched on to, hey, watch time's important. And across all of gaming, that was fantastic for all of us because gaming content often tends to be long form. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
was
feel
that
like
time.
I feel like I saw you posting photos of like your editing process. Maybe I asked you once or something, but I feel like I did
I used to
remember of
tweet
like you
out
just
the
like,
Sony Vegas projects, and it would be, yeah, like
yeah,
every night I would like queue up 5 videos. I would set them all to render one after the other, go to bed, wake up in the morning, set them all to upload, and that's how I was getting my 5 videos
yeah, I
out.
remember even seeing that and like it being like, man, that is so efficient. It's so, because then you could queue up a whole, you got like a couple days ready even.
Yeah.
You could queue it all up. But when you did bring somebody on, or maybe there was there even something that was like like an agent to help you with like any sponsorships, or did you do anything like that? Like what was the first thing that you kind of brought on to help you continue to expand what you were doing?
So I think probably throughout the last 6 or 7 years, I've been working with agencies to deliver branded content and deals. That is one area where actually kind of I did in the early days need help, but actually,
Yeah.
funnily enough, I tend to handle a lot of it myself these days. So it's almost come full circle around, whereby I'm quite comfortable doing that job. I have a weird way of I kind of do everything, even to this day. The only kind of hired assistance that I have really had was during the start of Fortnite. They had theater mode, and I was like, this is a really great place
Mm,
to introduce an editor because they can add more to the video by getting shots in replay mode, adding little teasers to the start of videos with cool cinematic shots to kind of bump up that interest. So throughout kind of Fortnite, I had kind of a freelance editor helping with my content, and now, yeah, when I kind of do gaming videos, they'll help with those. But a lot of my kind of Warzone content, again, last year was massive for me for Warzone,
yeah.
and I was doing a lot of Warzone content. I was editing that myself because it was so easy and quick for me to do because I knew the game that I'd played, and it's the kill counter in Warzone so helpful because I would focus in around every time the kill counter went up. I could very quickly track through. I remembered each engagement, so for me it was actually
Yeah.
efficient just to finish a stream, clip up the games that I knew were good, add an intro to it. So even last year I was kind of editing videos myself and just keeping it very gameplay focused, which is what
Well,
I've
you
done.
you you have so much experience with it. You know what your audience likes. Like you know how to
Hmm.
do it. I think that's what is sometimes really hard for people. There's other people that I've talked to too, are just like I still do absolutely everything completely myself. And then, there's other aspects where you give someone off. Even some of the first content that I brought up, it was kind of like,
Hmm.
well, I could upload 2 or 3 more videos a week if I had somebody else doing it, and there's a lot to kind of manage with it. But I guess even like when it comes to other platforms that you post on and create for, I know like you have like your Instagram's kind of more photo focused, and you have other aspects to those too. I guess how has your like approach been to some of the, because like you have a very big Twitter as well, and like how does that kind of keep your community together, or what's that for you in your content process in these days?
Yeah, so I think actually, I guess if you want to kind of look at like efficiency and kind of utilizing other platforms and clipping things and getting them out there, that's probably not somewhere where I'm fantastic. I'll kind of own up to it and I'll say, you know what, I don't do a lot of that. And that's something actually props to you and your team that I see really, really great is that coverage across different platforms, like clipping up of footage, getting it all out. Um, but for me, kind of at this point, almost my social media is again through the following that has come from the Sidemen and non-gaming content. It almost exists more as just a kind of a reflection of me. I guess
Right.
call me an influencer, which I know a lot of people kind of cringe at the term, but I tend to kind of make that a bit more personal. It's a
Yeah.
space where I can kind of promote brands and products, but a lot of my social media now just I tend to just make kind of about me if possible, and it's not really kind of a place to distribute more content.
Right.
But that's just kind of my personal skew on it, and I think I now feel myself at a position where I've built my brand to kind of a point I'm really happy with it. I sit as part of a much larger project within the Sidemen, and that almost, as a creator, that gives me some more kind of comfort in the sense that I don't feel the need to be constantly chasing to kind of increase reach. Fortunately,
Yep.
because of the way the Sidemen channel and properties work, there's such insane reach across all of those that I don't feel so much pressure to kind of put myself out there beyond that content. But that's kind of a very unique situation that I don't think really any other gamers, besides us, really find ourselves within.
Well, that's a nice thing of being able to have, especially such a large group of collaborations that you're able to do. It's like you are getting a whole bunch of avenues of other, it's not like it's just all good organic reach through all of it. Is like you
Yeah.
have a lot of other avenues just by the process of what you're doing and what you've created. So it's already extremely efficient in what you do. And I mean, for me, a big part of like even going over to Facebook in the first place, I was just uploading the same content over there and it started to go viral. And that was kind of my extra avenue of a whole bunch of reach, was like using other platforms to continue to expand off of. I mean, a massive amount of potential for additional reach on it. And I feel like that's what I see through you. Obviously, you could do the same thing through even just separate YouTube channels, focusing
Yeah.
on different algorithms within all those, right?
Yeah, it's almost scary, but it's exciting at the same time. There's always
Yeah.
so many different routes that you can go down. And it's just a case of exploring them, I think. And that's one thing I
Do-
feel a lot of people are kind of sometimes afraid to do, but it's just trial and error. That's all it is at the end of the day.
When you go to like, I've seen you guys do this like you very unique shows on the Sidemen channel and all of these different things. Like, do you ever feel nervous going into any of these new projects? Because obviously it is something different, especially for me going from like, my gameplay. I know a lot of that to going in front of a stage or an audience and things like that's always been kind of a difficult transition even for me. So it's like, is there anything that's been helpful for you for it? Do you feel like it's just a certain level of comfortability that you've acquired over time with it? Or is there anything that you keep in mind as you do any of these new projects or anything?
I think it's something that just kind of over time, I think the more you kind of push yourself out of your comfort zone and try different things, the
Yeah.
more you'll I feel like be able to do that. And I think the other thing that helps a lot within the Sidemen group is that a lot of this stuff is new for all of us. And it
Mm,
feels less daunting when it's all of us throwing ourselves into this format and none of us really know how it's going to go,
what's gonna
what it's going to
happen? Yeah.
do. And I think and it's just, I think the longer we've kind of existed as a group, the easier it's become for us just to throw ourselves at new things and kind of give it a shot. And yeah, it takes a lot of the pressure off. So I think through collaboration and through just making it sometimes less about the content and more about the experience and, making
Mm,
sure we're having fun, and that always transpires through on camera eventually.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just, throw ourselves in kind of mentality. And yeah, I think the group factor definitely helps.
As you've kind of gone through everything, I mean, you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot of other channels. Obviously, your own experience too. Is there anything? I'm sure there's a lot, but is there anything that kind of stands out as like a vital skill that you think yourself or others even possess as a creator that helps them through their journey and everything that they're working on?
So I think collaboration is really, really. I mean, it's so easy to say, oh, it's really, really important. But I think what I did from a very early point in my YouTube career that really helped me is I was constantly exploring new opportunities in the same way that you looked at my community channel, COD Carnage, and saw an opportunity there to expose yourself to more people. In the early days, I was looking at things like the Machinima Respawn channel, where I could become a
Yep.
director and expose more people to my content there. And it was just moving through. It was then when I built a small audience, it was finding other content creators of a similar size doing, they used to be called dual commentaries back in the day, where you both sit on the microphone and have just a general chat. And actually now when you watch them back, they're so bizarre and awkward and weird. And how is that what the kind of the pinnacle of content was? People would be like, oh, there's a dual commentary coming out between Vikkstar and Drifter, I'm gonna tune
Yeah,
in and check
yeah.
that out. And like in today's, like what they just, but then again, you look at podcasting and you look at mukbangs and you look at how people interact. It's always been important. But I think the biggest part for me was looking for finding those opportunities. They never fell into anyone's, lap, really. It was always making those connections, reaching out to people constantly. I seem to remember in the very early YouTube when you could message channels and people actually check their channel inbox every day. I would message loads and loads of different channels around a similar size, say, hey, do you want to play some COD together, record a dual commentary, what do you want to do? Share each other's kind of content, ideas. And then also, I even worked with bigger channels, but I always had the mindset of there's no way a bigger channel is just gonna work with me, because I was always thinking, I was always trying to think, what can I do to help them, whether
Right.
it was, helping them create content, whether it was, finding a good Minecraft map to record with someone that maybe had a bigger audience on Minecraft and saying, hey, I've set it up on a server, let's jump on, let's play this Minecraft map, making their life easier. One I remember very clearly is I got some early access to one of the Battlefield games very early on, and I went to Ali A, who had a huge channel at the time, and I kind of knew, ish, but I didn't, didn't know each other that well. But I said, hey, look, here's this early exclusive gameplay that people are going to love. Post it to your channel. All I ask is that at the start of it, you say thanks to me and ask people to come and check out my channel. And I think my upload of the gameplay got maybe like 50,000 views, and his version got 1 million views. And a lot of people might think like, oh, well, you should have asked him for all the ad revenue on that video. But it was, look, I'm happy to give my content to someone else, even if it means that an extra 1,000 people subscribe to me in the next month. It's all scales of growth, and you have to get everything going. And it's like a small boost, lots of small boosts in audience leads to a big boost over time. So it was just that kind of, I guess you almost in a way have to be kind of relentless and just be sociable and look for opportunities to extend yourself to a bigger audience. That's, I kind of like, I guess, would be, and then be consistent with it. And that's consistent with everything, your content and your rate of exposing yourself to new audiences, whether that's trying new things, whether that's working with new people. But that would be kind of my, as concise as possible guide. But then again, I kind of disclaimer, I did this back in 2012, 2013. Things are very different in this day and age. And I think some of those principles may hold true, but that's by no means, there's no playbook to it. There's no direct guide to it, but those are some principles that I think were important.
And 100%. I think that principle of just like finding ways to add value. I mean, it's something that even if you're playing with somebody of a relatively similar size or whatever it is, like you are still contributing to the content or, your personality, your take, even to your point of, you experiencing these things and having fun and bringing the joy to the content with the Sidemen and those new experiences. Like that's what I see. That's what even in your own videos, why people want to subscribe is like, what's the, for me, it was like, what is this guy going to do with the tomahawk next? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the next spot that I could use in my own content and try and hit something cool that would be flashy or whatever it is. And then I guess too, like, how do you even incorporate some of that into like your streams? Because obviously you can stream on YouTube. You have some implementations of that you've done over the years, especially when new games are kind of out. And is that kind of the way that you focus it? Like, what is that for you in your content library?
Yes, streaming is just kind of an extended presentation of content for me. In the early kind of Minecraft days, actually, I used to do a lot of streamed content that people really enjoyed because it was that interactivity that is Minecraft. You're driving a storyline a lot of the time, and viewers being able to kind of comment on that and kind of add to that, I feel like they really, really enjoyed, which is kind of where I got into my kind of first big gaming streams was during Minecraft. And then with Battle Royale games, it was just perfect to do while creating content. It's like you're creating content while creating content. Yeah. And yeah, it's just been kind of
ultimate efficiency with it, right?
and an enjoyable way to kind of express what is going on. And again, there's moments that you'll capture live that just, don't exist in VOD. It's just the watch time, people get involved. So it's just been kind of an extension and something that I can do while creating content that people really enjoy.
As you've kind of been over all this time, I'm sure you've gotten the question as well, like, what advice would you give to creators, or what advice would you give to me kind of starting out or thinking about getting into this? Like, what is kind of your take on it, or some lessons that I guess you would give?
So I'd say, kind of circling back to a couple of minutes ago, the points I made about looking for those opportunities, remaining consistent, those are key principles. I think one, which is sad in a way, but don't expect too much by the way of results. Focus on enjoying it. That will give you the longevity to get to a point where you do see results. If you're in it just to see results, oftentimes you'll burn out before you even get any results because it takes a long time and it's never even guaranteed. Yep. I think that mindset has helped a lot of us who started in the early days. None of us really got into the scene because it was a glamorous thing. It was just, for us, it was a passion. It was a desire to experiment, learn, kind of grow ourselves. I still think to this day that's really important in the early stages. So yeah, it's consistent, enjoy it, don't expect too much, and try to learn as many skills as you can throughout. And then when all is said and done, there's the YouTube industry and the gaming and the live streaming industry has grown so many other industries that even if creating content doesn't work out for you, there's so many opportunities that I see day in, day out, that I'm sure you and I have seen people that used to create content have fallen into fantastic positions where they're really able to understand the space. That's something that when we started wasn't valuable, just understanding YouTube. But in this day and age, I see it time and time again. So many companies want to hire people that understand this space because it does extend so far and it is really influencing a new generation of people consuming content. So I think those would be my kind of top tips.
It's massive. It's growing. There's new platforms coming up that are trying to figure out like what is it that is actually doing this, you know, from outsiders that are looking in from just like TV or movies or whatever. And they're like, I don't even understand anything about this space at all. Like why are anybody even subscribing to this in the first place? It's like, I feel like everything, that was fantastic, man. Thank you so much for coming on, for sharing all of this. Again, if you guys want to check Vic out, Vikkstar123, Twitter, YouTube, all the socials. Any parting thoughts or anything you want to mention?
No. Thanks for having me, and
Absolutely,
it's great to see us both here and doing our thing and living it up.
It's awesome. It's awesome, and I mean, this podcast, this has been awesome, man. Thank you so much again, and thanks for listening, everybody.
Absolute pleasure. Cheers.